Hello there, and welcome back to another weekly recap. So, yeah, welcome back. So last week we had what was probably the most, I want to say, the buggiest launch we've ever seen from a Bethesda title, and that was pretty interesting considering the launch in question was a essentially a remaster of Fallout 4. So yeah, game's been out a week. Bethesda have they just recently released a hot fix. They have slated to launch several bug fixes over the course of the next couple of weeks. The hot fix came out today, fixed issues with people not being able to purchase certain items from the creation store, made the creation store more stable, and just generally made some improvements, which is nice to see. I will give credit to Bethesda. They have been quite active when it comes to talking and kind of explaining the issues and, kind of getting the patches out there. And yeah, which is nice to see. I will say it's still quite frustrating because, we still have the issues that are, withstanding where, why is it flickering? Is it the goddamn light I put above my head that's flickering? Of course it is. So yeah, the obviously PlayStation players still got a little bit shafted by the fact that some of the creations have just been pretty abysmal. Obviously, we've got no actual Starfield news, hence why I'm back at the Commonwealth. But yeah, it's definitely been an eventful week for Bethesda. I feel like a lot of people who were kind of, people. Okay, I'll be back. I'm gonna fix that light. Yeah, right. Blinking light has been fixed. I changed the light bulb. You would think the Commonwealth would have, like some decent light bulbs that don't blink a lot. But yeah, it's still. Look, I think initially with how Bethesda have handled Starfield, I think a lot of people who played Starfield, and look, that's not going to be a lot of people in the grand scheme of Bethesda players, but a lot of Starfield players were very frustrated with how Bethesda have been handling stuff. And then obviously with the stuff going on with Fallout, it kind of just increased the amount of people who have been not satisfied with Bethesda. And it's going to be interesting to see, like, in the coming weeks and months and years, like, if Bethesda's going to kind of, say or do anything. Like, I still think that, it's good that they're fixing the issues with Fallout 4, and I believe they're going to be increasing the mod limit, or the mod size limit. I think they're going to be bringing it up to 100 gigs, which is in line with Fallout 4. Interestingly, so I found out some information. So I was, again, Crimson knows some things, but a lot of things escape me. So part of the reason why initially they didn't increase the lore order straight off the bat was that in order for them to do it, they would have at the current kind of time before the anniversary edition went live, it would have essentially erased everyone's load order. So they basically would have to have got to a point where they could save everyone's load order first of all, and then do it. Now, if Bethesda had have explained this, that would have been kind of, again, if Bethesda, I think that the repeating kind of response from the fans is, if Bethesda had have spoke. And I think that's the one big criticism I think that sticks through with Bethesda. They need to communicate more, especially when instances like this happen. Like, as a fan of Starfield, we have seen Bethesda communicate. We can count on one hand the amount of times Bethesda have communicated about Starfield. But obviously, yeah. Regardless, it's going to be good that they're going to be increasing the mod limit and stuff. Because in the current space of the game, you can have a handful of mods before you hit the limit. I will say I've seen people say that the game runs a lot smoother. I haven't really noticed any major like kind of oh fucking speak of the devil. My game just crashed. All right, we're back. You couldn't write this. It's phenomenal, Bethesda. But yeah, I don't know why the game does that. Starfield does the same thing too. When I tend to like record, and just yeah. And weirdly, like when I do these recordings, I don't have any mods enabled. I have like a fresh save. Weird that it crashes. Anyway, but yeah, so like it obviously. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because that crashed. But I feel like we're kind of at this point now where like a lot of fans are just getting kind of fed up with Bethesda for reasons, and a lot of fans have, I mean, probably a lot of fans have lost faith in Bethesda. I'm one of those people where like I'm probably naive, probably way too optimistic. I mean, I still think we're gonna get a Starfield update before the year ends, and we're currently halfway through the second last month. Um, oh, Cosworth, please don't come in here and talk to me. But yeah, I think that Bethesda needs to do a fair bit, I think, to repair the trust in the players, because currently it just like it's one thing as a Starfield fan to be kind of like, oh yeah, I suppose we're Starfield players. There's only like 11 of us. But like with what happened with Fallout, specifically with like PlayStation players, like not getting access to like a lot of the paid mods and stuff in general, this is just a bit kind of like, really, Bethesda? Are we doing that? Um. So yeah, I guess I'm interested in what you guys think, because I know that there's obviously a lot of people. Oh shoot, what happened? I'm here. I'll have to toggle free cam real quick. So I'm interested to see like what's your guys' opinion on like Bethesda and stuff. Like, has your, let's say prior to Starfield coming out, like kind of on a scale of like 1 to 10, how much of a fan of Bethesda were you? And then obviously post Starfield and post, I mean, Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition, like where is it sitting now? I will say Bethesda have always been one of them companies for me. Like I think Bethesda and 343, now Halo Studios, have always been like probably my most played game companies. And it's frustrating kind of seeing them make these stupid mistakes. And by stupid, I don't mean like, look, the issues with obviously with Starfield and Fallout, like they're obviously, issues. I mean, the Fallout issues could probably have been remedied a little bit easier than the issues Starfield has. But when I say stupid mistakes, I just mean like the lack of communication. And when they do communicate, it seems to be communicating with nothing. Like, I think there's a kind of a growing concern with Bethesda that like they're not capable of kind of going, like going against the big dogs. And by big dogs I mean, not even the big dogs, but like I feel like over the last, oh god, probably since like 2020, maybe not even like that, like probably the last 5-6 years, like the gaming industry, there's been a big shift, because obviously games are hard to make and stuff. But I think that like with how Bethesda like operates and chooses to operate, like it takes them like what they've it's slated that Elder Scrolls 6 probably won't be coming out for another, I don't know, like 2-3 years, and Fallout 4 probably won't be coming out till 2030, so 5 years away. Now that's all speculation, but I feel like one of the criticisms I see people say about Bethesda is how long it takes them to make games. And I'm not saying that games need to be kind of made quickly and fast and stuff, because that can be very detrimental. I look at Rockstar. Rockstar recently postponed GTA and supposedly lost a lot of money on their like stocks and stuff over it. But if a developer deems it necessary. But I just feel like with Starfield and with Fallout 4 Anniversary, which, look, let's be real here for a minute. Starfield is it's a Bethesda title, and I love it very dearly. But when you compare it to kind of their previous titles like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, like it doesn't really compare for various reasons. And I think part of obviously one of the least argumentative takes is just the fact that it's in its infancy. You know, Fallout and Elder Scrolls have been around for over 20 years now, easily more so in some of the cases. And I would love to get to a point where Starfield is that kind of, you know, like it's got that, you know, that storyline behind it and all that sort of stuff. With that being said, I feel like with how Bethesda have handled Starfield and how they're handling kind of the Anniversary Edition, and yes, they are fixing it, it does make you wonder, like, you know, with the next Fallout or the next Elder Scrolls, like, what is to be expected? Like, are we going to have a buggy launch? Are we going to have, like, kind of paid mods there front and center? You know, like, are they going to do what they used to do, where we would get like paid content drops like DLCs and expansions, or like are they going to try and do initially what they did with Starfield, where they're aiming for more expansions and free updates and then kind of hoping that mod authors can kind of fill the gap? Because I'm going to be honest with you, as much as I'm a fan of, you know, the idea of paid modding when done right, I don't think Bethesda can attempt to use paid mods to the level of which they've been utilized in Starfield. And like, here's the thing, right? I don't really know. I don't know the true ins and outs of like the paid mod system, like where that came from. Like, if it was born out of a necessity, if it was born out of an idea that maybe Bethesda could get some extra monetization going, while kind of also allowing creators to get monetization. But I think there's been a few rumors that Bethesda... Dogmate, shut the fuck up. That's just Preston, don't be an asshole. There's been like a few rumors that like Bethesda wants to shift from their initial system of, you know, doing the paid content, like think Fallout 4 and think Skyrim, where you had like paid DLCs like Heartfire and Wasteland Workshop, and then we had expansions like Nuka World and stuff, right? There's rumors that they shifted from that to the kind of the paid mod system in the hopes that kind of paid mods could essentially take on the role of the DLCs and allow Bethesda to focus more on kind of bug fixes and expansions. Now, the first year or so of Starfield's development, there was probably some truth to that. But obviously, as I always say, like, I mean, everyone knows, there was a shift in Bethesda's design philosophy when it comes to, or their, not the design philosophy, they're just in their general kind of operative status with Starfield. They kind of just decided out the wazoo to do, you know, we're like, okay, we're gonna go radio silent, which is, well, it's definitely something. But yeah, I think everybody would agree that, I would like to think most people agree, that I would much rather have seen Bethesda operate on their old standards of just making the content themselves, and then using paid mods as a kind of a, you know, cream of the crop, you know, the cherry on top. Like, we look at Fallout 4. Like, Fallout 4 got so many, like, little workshop DLCs and stuff. Like, imagine if Starfield had that. Like, we're 2 years into Starfield, I think, at this point. Just over 2 years. And in that time frame, Fallout 4 had gotten 2 expansions and 5 DLCs. What has Starfield gotten? 1 expansion and a few updates. And Bethesda, I don't know if Bethesda watches these. Probably not. Why would you watch someone like me? I just ramble. But like, could we like at least get some sort of insight on like, if you're going to be going back to the old ways of, you know, paid content by you guys instead of relying on kind of paid mods? Because obviously, look, we'll talk about that in a second, as we always do. But I can't help but feel like Starfield would have been in a far better place if they had have opted to do, you know, paid DLC, like a Imagine like a settlement builder workshop update that overhauled the outpost system. You know, a shipbuilding expansion or DLC. You know, stuff like that. Stuff that realistically, like when you look at when you look at them in Fallout 4, like some of the DLCs. I mean, there's not like I wouldn't say it would be extremely hard for them to make and copy over to, you know, like I think one of the ones we always wanted and a lot of people wanted was the automatron, like being able to build your own robots in Starfield. Like robots, I would say are equally as prevalent, if not more prevalent, in Starfield. There's a lot more variety to the robots in Starfield. You can customize them with modding. You can customize them. So like it would have been a no-brainer for Bethesda, like to, you know, for a tenner have like a, you know, like a DLC where you could basically customize your own robots and stuff. Like instead we had to rely on mod authors to kind of do the heavy lifting and get it out there. And it's like stuff like that like it's frustrating because like one of the things I always kind of see when I do like mod reviews is like, and I like to attribute it as like it's a kind of a it's like a two-edged, two-pronged response, is when people comment and say this should have been in the game at launch. Because in one way I think it can be seen as a compliment to the mod author that they have made something that like feels like it should have been part of the base game, but at the same time it's still insulting Bethesda to the fact that why wasn't this in the game at launch, you know? And I realize that, look, not everything is going to be in the game at launch, right? Like there's I see it sometimes. I'll see comments like that. I'm like, you know, that's very valid. That's very true. But sometimes I'll see it. I'm like, brother, no. Like we can't have everything. If every mod that came out and people are like, oh, that should have been launched, by that logic, the game would have never gotten done. But yeah, it's like ultimately we're not really gonna know. We're gonna have no way of knowing, and until the next like update comes out for Starfield, and then we should see something. Now, one thing I will say regarding Starfield, we know Terran Armada's there. We know they're working on some stuff, and from what we know, they're working on some substantial like stuff. You know, they've got new mechanics, new gameplay options, stuff that I'm excited for. And again, Bethesda, if you had have handled it a little bit better with PR, some teasers here, you know, little information on what's coming, I think you could have really capitalized on like the hype of, you know, just the Terran Armada teaser and go from there. Like there was a time when, I mean, people in our Discord, Starfield Anonymous, plug the Discord, where we were kind of just sitting there wondering what's happening, and then the Terran Armada came out, and it was a small teaser, but we were all, a lot of us were excited. Even people that usually are quite pessimistic were excited, and ultimately it manifested into nothing, you know? Like it's been a couple of months now since that, and we've gotten nothing more, you know? Like if you are planning on dropping it next year, like if it is a thing where it's not coming out this year, the very least is you could put out a little update, a little trailer, talking about like more about the features coming and give us a brief kind of when it's coming out, you know? Because I know too they talk about like in the GQ interview, he talks about how the shadow drop worked well for Oblivion, and let me be honest, shadow dropping can work very cool. It's a very cool idea, but it only tends to work when you're dropping something that like generally remasters of games that have already been out, or like free to play sort of games, you know, like games where because if you like shadow dropped a Starfield update out of the blue, I would be excited, but you're limiting your potential, like, you know, like your advertisement of it and your kind of your hype, you know? Like again, if they had thought that they were going to shadow drop Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5, we're in trouble, just because those games, and I know, look, Bethesda have always been that company where they don't like showing teasers like way out in advance. I think ultimately their whole thing about showing the teaser about Elder Scrolls 6 was, even though they were doing it, I think they were doing it purely to kind of appease the fans and let them know it's still working on, which anyone and their mother would know that they're going to, of course, are working on it. But it kind of, again, it kind of shot them in the foot, because now it's kind of like this whole thing of like, oh, you show us a little bit of Elder Scrolls anymore. So obviously, I'm not expecting, I wouldn't expect Bethesda to kind of have this year-long campaign for, new content. But at the very least, like, like have a kind of a like, oh, if let's say it's coming out in February, well, like a month before we get like a little kind of a teaser trailer, and then 2 weeks before we get another kind of more substantial teaser trailer, and the week before we get a big trailer talking about all this new content. Just something like that. It could really help the player base and kind of give them something to rally behind and get excited about. Um, that's pretty much it with that. I will say regarding the whole stuff with PlayStation is still in a bit of a shit situation, because realistically, if you're a fan of Fallout or you're a fan of Elder Scrolls titles or Bethesda titles, and you intend on making use of console modding, currently PlayStation is not the avenue for that, and it's really, really shitty that that's the case. Now, I pray to baby Jesus, to any other god up there that exists, if you're up there, please, that if and when Bethesda launches Starfield on PlayStation, that they will have remedied the whole issue so that PlayStation players can get access to the exact same mods as Xbox, because otherwise, what is the point? Like, you look at the stuff going on with Fallout 4 currently. PlayStation players, yeah, they get access to all of the stuff in the creation bundle, but they don't get access to anything else. The Beast mod made by Bethesda and Hobgoblin Studios, they don't get access to that. The paid mods this week that came out, they don't get access to any. Well, they get access to some. Generally, the ones they're going to get access to are ones that shouldn't be paid mods, because again, the part of the issue behind it is that is essentially that Sony doesn't allow any kind of external assets. It has to be assets that exist in the game. And fun fact, apparently what Bethesda initially did back in the day with Fallout was they would actually do updates that for the creation content, back before paid mods were a thing, before it was just the creation content, where it was more Bethesda contracting modders to make content for them and then obviously charging for it. What Bethesda used to do is they used to updates on PlayStation would add the items into the game so that the modders could use them and stuff, which was actually a very cool idea. But the problem was it would just bloat the game and make it way too big. So hopefully with Elder Scrolls, or with Starfield, and I mean, look, with whatever it is, hopefully Bethesda can get it sorted. Because if like the Starfield update comes out and then it comes out on PlayStation and they're not going to be able to access a lot of the stuff, because like there's a lot of very, very cool free mods currently, that like some of the shipbuilding mods that are, and some paid mods with weapon mods stuff, and it's like if Bethesda or if PlayStation players can access that, well, it's like, yeah, like ain't that a kick in the head? Not to mention the calamity of it all is that, and I've said this a few times in streams, if you look at some of the paid mods on Fallout 4 that are available on all platforms, they have the most amount of bookmarks on PlayStation. They've almost, I believe, depending on, obviously it depends on the mods, and this is very anecdotal, but I'm just mentioning it, like 2 times as many as Xbox and like 3 to 4 times as many as PlayStation as PC. So there's a huge revenue stream there. And again, it's not. I'm not saying it's on Bethesda specifically. It's on Sony ultimately, and Bethesda have very little sway with it. But I would like to hope that they could use Big Daddy Microsoft to try and maybe get something working, because ultimately, allowing paid mods, they're allowing mods and stuff full variety. It helps the player base, because we're all in the same boat. I'm PC players and their script extender, but it also kind of, again, it allows the whole paid modding scene to kind of work better. Obviously, we've got the issues, just talking briefly about paid mods. We're seeing exactly what I kind of expected to see with Fallout 4, with Starfield, we've got some of the paid mods this week. Some of them are quite interesting. Some of them are very much a kind of a cash grab and stuff, and it's just like, kind of like, really? Are we doing this? But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think, and if you're if you have anything to add to it. Have you guys been playing the Fallout update? I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends still haven't been able to play it on their end. I guess I was lucky, but then I kind of deleted all my saves prior. I suppose that's one thing to remember, regardless of what. Whenever an update comes out, mods are going to break, saves are going to be temperamental. So always prepare for the worst. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and catch you in the next one. Bye bye.